Hello, welcome to episode 27 of the Gaming Pubcast. I'm one of the hosts, Duncan, and I'm here today with
Tom. Hello.
Definitely Tom. Martin is unfortunately unavailable this week, and so just going to be us, the old men of the group, not that young whippersnapper.
Yeah.
But anyway, how are you today, Tom?
I'm all right. How are you?
All good. It's been, I think, a quiet week for news. I think nothing major coming out.
Nothing major. No.
But equally, have you been playing much this week?
I have. I've played the Lord of the Rings Lego game. So it's been quite fun, quite relaxing to play. And what else have I been playing? I've been playing a tennis game on Android called Ultimate Tennis. I was sitting in the hospital for an appointment. I was like, let's play a tennis game.
Yes.
And it's not
good,
bad, actually.
Good for a few minutes, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, and also Mario Kart on Android as well, which is absolutely horrendous. So, yeah.
I can't do steering on a touchscreen. It's not too bad when you're using motion controls. Not too bad, but then it's got to be designed for that, I think, driving games.
Yeah, I kind of felt that the hour I waited to download the update for it before I even started on 5G was a bit much. So that was off-putting straight away. But once you're in,
Mario Kart World Tour or something, isn't it?
Yeah. Support is ending for it soon, as far as I understand. So I think
you're just trying it before it dies.
Yeah, I think they're gearing up for the Switch 2, which will obviously have its natural Mario Kart progression.
Well, I think, unless you count Pokemon Go, which is technically Nintendo, but technically not Nintendo, separate company, isn't it? They haven't really had that much success with their mobile offerings. I mean, Mario World Tour is going still, and it's great fun as a quick 2-minute game. But but no, I think I tried the Mario Kart game. I can't even remember if I've tried it. Well, that's how memorable it was.
It has a steering wheel, and you just flick your thumb left to right. I think it is to steer, or you essentially it's okay.
Is it like a glorified runner?
No, it is like playing the Game Boy Advanced version of Mario Kart,
but
with less flexibility.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
But I can't think of any other Nintendo game though that's on mobile. There probably is, but maybe they're just not trying to break mobile as much as sort of Microsoft and the like. But I've seen Devil May Cry came out this week.
Yes,
I did sample that. It's basically a gacha game thing, but there was so many systems and so many. Oh well, this and you've got to click this and upgrade this and do this and do that, and I'm like, but I don't want to do all that. I just want to shoot things and swing my sword and chop things up. Obviously, it's a mobile game, so they're trying to make the money. So there's just 100 million different systems to get characters, sword upgrades, gun upgrades, different characters' abilities, and it was just an instant turn off for me. The actual gameplay, when they let me do it, when I could work out how to do it, was really good. It was Devil May Cry, and it worked really well. The buttons were clear, and but they didn't take up all the screen, so you could still see what you were doing. It was okay. Just as soon as you finish the level, that was it. It was buy, and upgrade everything. And I didn't have a clue. So I could imagine after doing about 20 minutes more of gameplay, I'd probably be underpowered and not able to do anything. So unfortunately, it was an immediate uninstall for me.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Which is a shame.
if you're going to do, because I think with all the loot crates and extras like Call of Duty, it's forever buy this, buy that, or you go into the drawer, and you always never get the one thing you want. So,
But at least with Call of Duty, most of the time, especially with Warzone, things like that, it's you got this gun, you can make this gun look pretty if you want. You buy this. But then these ones, there's this upgrade material. There's about 5 different upgrade materials for about 10 different things that you can upgrade, and then it's like, but you, there was about, I'm not exaggerating, I think about 15 different menus in Devil May Cry that I could find, and that was just looking at characters, weapons, summon. It kept saying summon. And I'm like, what am I summoning? And then a weapon would appear. And then I'd be like, how do I don't know how equip that? Or do I don't know. So as I said, yeah, it was an immediate no after about 20 minutes of play. And it was a bit of a shame as well, because it was a humongous download. It was in the gigabytes. I think it was something like 12 gigabyte, I think. So yeah, it's not as big as Diablo Immortal. I think takes up about 15
25,
gigabyte.
Isn't it?
I think it was a 15 gigabyte download for me, and so since that, yeah, I mean it's gone up, and every time you open it up, there's downloads. You'll try to go to an area, and it will say you haven't got that area. I'm pretty sure I downloaded everything.
Yeah.
But you'll just find, you'll have a 1 gigabyte download because there's an update to an area, or a new area, or new sounds, or new HD. But no. So anyway, tennis. You enjoyed the tennis?
I enjoyed the tennis, yeah. But I understand you've downloaded a bit of a retro game. Is this right?
Oh, that's my game that I play. I bought a. Have you heard of Fanatical?
Yes.
They do these mystery bundles, and everybody who buys them knows that all they are doing is getting rid of the keys, the Steam keys that they can't sell. That they bought a job lot. They bought probably, I don't know, 10,000 of these things, and they can't get rid of these games even for pennies. So they stick them in these mystery bundles, and you just buy like anything from 1 key to I think 20 keys, and I mean the range as well. You'll get different quality of bundles, so you'll get, but they're still the same ones, games that everybody can get for pennies, really. So I was stupid and bought one. I wasn't stupid. I just thought, why not? And I was quite pleased. Out of, I think, the 20 keys I bought, this was the super, super cheap one, where I think for about £12, I got 20 keys. So there was a lot of games for quite cheap. So, yeah, I bought that. And I only already owned about 2 or 3. So that wasn't too bad going. Most of them, I don't know whether you've heard. There's a Noah's Ark Doom style game that's meant to be. Oh, really? It's actually a religious game, but it's pretty much like a joke. And people are like, is this a joke? And it isn't a joke. It's proper religious game. But that was the game I bought. One of the games was a game called Pushover. Have you heard of that?
No.
I believe it came out on the Amiga as well. But it's on Steam, but it's a DOS game. Literally, I think it opens up in DOSBox, which is quite difficult to manually do on a Steam Deck. But I got there in the end. Somebody very kindly already done a control settings, which made it very easy. But it's basically you control an ant. It's sponsored by Quavers, the crisps, and you have dominoes, and you have to set the dominoes in order so that you knock all of the dominoes down, and you have different ones. You have the one with, they're all yellow, but then you have ones with 2 red stripes. That has to be the last one to fall over. You have one that's got one line down the one side of it that splits in two, so it goes both ways when it hits. You have some that rise up, some that keep rolling until they hit something else. You have some that just disappear, some that will form a bridge over a gap, and it's a puzzle game.
That sounds really good.
I remember it's only when I started playing it, I'm like, I'm sure I remember playing this on. I think I might have played it on Amiga or something like that when I was a lot younger, but it's probably a good 30 years old. And yeah, so I ended up playing that for about 2 hours, 3 hours. And apparently there's 100 levels. I think I got to maybe level 20 something, maybe 30 something. Yeah. The first 5 are just more tutorial levels.
Yeah.
But then in the end, I read up on what the last level's like, and in the end, they're all yellow, and you don't know what they do. So you have, and there's a time limit as well. So you have to work out what each one does, and then put them in the right order as well. So I can imagine the last couple of levels are going to be.
Don't drink while you're playing that.
Tough, yeah. But yeah, so that was a really nice surprise in that.
That's really good. Yeah.
I got some Korean horror games, which I shall not be playing. I did redeem them, so they're sitting there in my Steam account.
Yeah.
But no, they did look pretty terrifying.
You say about Steam game codes.
Yeah.
And I found a couple of forums on or groups on Facebook and some modded forums on the interweb, as they call it, and people gifting codes. And you had someone posts up a code and you go and get it, and they don't tell you what it's for. And managed to get the Hogwarts game on the Steam Deck. Yeah, I know.
What? It works well on the Steam Deck, apparently.
Yeah. Obviously, I don't own the Steam Deck. My son does, which he has no interest in playing this game at all.
It's a good game. It's a good game.
I know.
It's not a classic. In 10 years' time, you're not going to be talking about it.
No.
It's not that much of a classic, but it is a really good game. It's a strong 8 out of 10 kind of thing.
Yeah.
I
snuck it onto his Steam Deck.
It's quite a big game. I think it's probably 50, 60 gigabyte. So it'll take up quite some space.
He's up to, I think it's 2 to 3 terabyte now or something on his Steam Deck, so he's all good. He ain't gonna miss it.
The big games like that, you generally want it on the internal, because if you put it on the external, I find games like that, as well as updates as well, the pre-shader caches or whatever it is. Sometimes they can stick, and you'll have it updating. And yeah, I think it was God of War the one time. I had an update that was only a 100 megabyte, let's say. And it took about 3.5 hours to install.
Yeah,
and that was with a good quality, authentic SD card. So I transferred it. I cancelled the update, transferred it to the internal, and it updated in about 45 seconds. So
the plan is to upgrade his internal at some stage. So we're.
I've done that twice now. So if you need
might we'll borrow your hands on that one.
Don't forget to take the SD card out.
Oh, really?
Anytime, because when you the back case is, I think, clips into where the SD card is. So if you unclip it and you haven't taken the SD card out, it splits into.
Oh, nice.
And so there's been many a picture. If you type in Steam Deck SD card split, you'll see many a people posting pictures of their dead SD cards because they forgot to take them out. So
he's saving his money up now to get himself an internal card. He wants a 2 terabyte. So I said, fine. So that's on the cards. So good for him.
Well, that's not the only retro game I've been playing. I've been playing Sonic and Knuckles. Still a bit more, and I've got a bit further in that. I can't. I'm on like the Robotnik Death Star style level. I don't know can't remember what it's called, but yeah. So I think I must be quite far into it. I don't know. But yeah, so it's oh my god, it's so hard though.
It is, isn't it?
Oh, so tough. I would absolutely not be able to do this game without save states. The save states are saving my sanity.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Thankfully, I always save in a good place. So you get worried that time that you might save it and something then kills you. But no, there's some quite complex levels as well where you just go round in a loop and loop, and if you don't jump at the right point, you can't finish the level. And I've run out of time trying to get to the end on a couple of the levels.
Yeah,
but yeah, good game though. Really,
it was a great game.
Good game.
Really good game.
Still, two is the best for me. Still, it was just that right level of difficulty and fun.
For me, it's Sonic CD. Love Sonic CD.
I can't say I've played that enough to have an opinion on it. But
you can get it on.
I will
on
have
mobile.
it at some point. I think I might own it. I think on the Amazon App Store. I think they gave it away years ago.
It's a very good game. I mean, it's much more fun to play on the original hardware. So, but nothing beats original hardware. What are you going to do?
Indeed. I suppose the only other game I've been playing is one called Lumber Hill, which apparently is on PlayStation as well. And I played it because I thought it was going to be. It looked like a very simple survival crafting game, but it isn't. It's like an arcadey game where you've got to do a job. You'll get a small map, and you have to either knock some trees down or herd some sheep, and you have to do whatever it says at the bottom. And so, imagine Overcooked, but for a lumberjack stroke shepherd.
Yeah.
And
check it out.
It's fun. I think it would probably be more fun with friends, though. Playing by myself, it was a bit sort of like, yeah. I can imagine
Are you flirting, Duncan? I said, are you flirting?
Well,
playing with friends.
I like playing with friends if it's fun.
If it's double joysticks.
and that would be fun. That game, I think it would probably be a 7 out of 10 if I had friends to play it with. I just don't have friends that own it. I don't think.
I will try to acquire it
by yourself. It's about a 4 out of 10, maybe 5. So it's.
I shall try to acquire it, Duncan, so you can have a bit of fun.
I don't want to actually play with people. It means I might have to talk to somebody. See, I just imagine that I'm just talking to on this, just cover up people. I'm just talking to an invisible voice.
Well, I'm not actually here. It's all a Matrix style thing.
No, other than that, out of the 20 games, those are the games. So I didn't get Sonic and Knuckles. That was separate to that. But yeah, the Pushover was fantastic puzzle game. If you can get it on Steam and you don't mind the fact that it is an old game, that's it was very good graphics when it came out. Let's just say that. And it has this weird sponsorship of Quavers.
I like that though.
Yeah, but I remember it being a paid-for game, and it still had a sponsorship. I highly recommend it if you can get it for a few pence, probably from somewhere.
It's worth it.
It's worth it. It's a decent puzzle game. So
maybe check it out.
That's what we've been playing. I haven't been playing much modern this week. Although I am going through Cyberpunk 2077 again, mostly because I now own the DLC, the Phantom Liberty DLC. But I wanted to restart the game, and they did say it was recommended to restart the game. But you can actually restart the game and jump to the level and the point where you get the DLC offered to you automatically. But I didn't want to do that, so I'm going through the game completely. with the 2.0 version. And so, so my review of the DLC will come eventually, which I'm hearing nothing but good things about Idris Elba and his little story. But apparently
I
there's
need to play it. I've not played
whole
it.
new ending of the game, apparently. So, should be fun.
I should check it out at some stage.
Yeah. So, right. We wanted to talk about TV video games, didn't we? We were going to talk about that because I think we have mentioned the odd TV or games based on TV shows before. When I was going through, and I will carry it on at some point, going through my PS2, there was a PS2 library. I did play the 24 game, which was it could have been worse. Let's just say that.
That was polite. That was really polite.
It could have been worse. But see, I've got so many ideas of movie games that have been abysmal that as a probably lower budget TV game, okay, could have been worse, could have been better. But yeah, if I paid £60 for it, then I probably would have been really annoyed. But that's why you didn't pre-order when you had physical games,
and that's why the PlayStation 2 era was quite throwaway in many cases.
PlayStation 2 era. You see, every era has its duds. The Super Nintendo had tons of duds. The Amstrad. The Amstrad had loads of low budget games that were awful, and people forget those, and that's
That's it. You remember the good and not the bad.
The rose tinted glasses. But no, so are there any TV games that you can think of that you've maybe played in the past?
There's so many. I mean, if we go back to the 1980s and you just mentioned the Amstrad, obviously it was the early days of licensing where you could literally walk into any TV studio and say, I want to make a game of your show. And they'd say, sure, go for it. I mean, it was that simple. And they'd take a tiny cut of it, but they'd pay you so much, 25 grand to release 100,000 games. But one of the ones that always sticks in my mind is Knight-Mare from the ITV show where the kids.
Was there an actual game of that game?
There was an actual game of that game.
So
this is the one where,
just in case anybody doesn't remember this because they're too young, probably, or is from the States or another country. Explain Knight-Mare.
So Knight-Mare was a game starting. I think it started in about 1984. Correct me if I'm wrong. And it was set in a dungeon, and you had the dungeon master as such, and kids would come around. They'd sit around a chest, and then one kid would go into the dungeon with a mask on. And they had horns, and you couldn't see anything, and you'd have a bag that you had. They could
just see their feet, couldn't they? They could see down towards their feet.
Yeah, and it was essentially a CGI-based game with actors.
It was green screen, wasn't it? They'd have a picture of like maybe a castle entrance or a dungeon or a field or a cottage kind of thing. There are. I suppose you could say it was like King's Quest TV show.
Yeah. It was fantastic. And if you
so good. Every single kid wanted to be on that show.
They did. And you'd have a pouch to put food in, you'd pick up the stuff off the table, and your friends would go, take 2 steps to the left or 1 step forward, and pick up the sword, and
I could just imagine actually in the studio they'd be right, there'd be somebody going, cut, you're at the door. Right. We're just going to put you back, turn around. There you go. Right, stand there. Yeah. Okay, then. And there'd be these 12-year-old kids going, or 10-year-old kids going, okay, I'll just do what you tell me. And so for them, it probably wasn't as immersive, but for the TV viewer, it was just like it was fantastic. A real life video game, and you could be in it and win. You could win money. I think it was, wasn't it?
I think you had like a gift certificate or something. And
it was something.
A scroll and things like that. But yeah, absolutely brilliant. And
I remember seeing a few people complete the game. It would normally be over about 3 episodes, wasn't it? It
was always the posh ones, wasn't it? the well-dressed posh kids. It was never
Well,
like
there would be little puzzles, there would be riddles, because they'd meet somebody who was actually an actual person, like an actor who wouldn't be wearing a helmet. They'd be dressed as a knight or a wizard or an elf or something like that. And yeah, there'd be like the Sphinx's riddle, that kind of thing. What has 4 legs in the morning? Blah blah blah. I didn't know there was a video game of that.
It was a really basic game. It wasn't anything special by any means, but it was Nightmare, and you'd have doors and you'd walk into rooms, and it was quite 3D for a game of that era. And yeah, you'd meet gargoyles and dragons, and there'd be quests and things like that, and you go through like passageways and gates, and it was very authentic, for its era.
I'm just looking it up. Of course, it was available on the Amstrad.
Of course,
yes, of course.
but
there was
for its era.
there was something not associated with it at all for the MSX and mobile phone. Apparently, that is not what we're talking about, is it? That's a vertical shooter. So yeah, this one was on the like the 8-bit computers.
Yeah,
and Atari and Amstrad.
There was talk of a VR version of Nightmare. So you'd partner up with some friends. One of you would choose to be the kid in the mask, or you'd be blind as such on your VR, and your friends would direct you. There was talk of it. I don't know whatever happened to it, but what a fantastic project! And the original Dungeon Master guy was going to be the one that did all the voice for it.
Has he passed away now? I can see he's either going to be extremely old or not with us anymore. I shall just look it up while you're nattering. Knight-Mare. No, it was
Hugo Meyer.
Such a good show. Hugo Meyer, yes. And looking him
He's
up.
Still alive.
Oh, he's still going.
Well, he was only born in 1945. He's what is he? 80.
78, or 79. 78, 79.
Yeah. So maybe we should get hold of him and film some scenes.
Oh, apparently he did a voice in Fable: The Lost Chapters. And Fable. Oh. There you go. So, and Black and White, he was a voice. I wonder what he was in I'm just having a look. Hugo White. I'm looking what he was in Fable, but I don't know. But no, it such a good game. See, anybody who went on that would probably be about our age, and just every kid wanted to be. It didn't matter what you were into at school, whether you were a sports kid or a geeky kid or whatever. Everybody wanted to be on it. It was such a good TV show.
And I've just found the Nightmare VR pilot, which is available on YouTube to watch. So, yeah.
Well, so there you go. So that's that. Now that I didn't know that there was a video game of that. Then again, as it was on the 8-bit era, it was on Amstrad CPC, Atari ST, and Commodore 64, apparently. And Spectrum.
If we go a bit more modern, we've got things like Turtles, the arcade, which was obviously re-released recently by Arcade 1-Up.
I was going to say that the original one is 1980s.
Yeah, probably early 90s, actually, I would say. But yeah, I mean, Arcade 1-Up recently did a 4-player cabinet, which I think is now like $100 in discounted down because they're trying to get rid of the units. But it's that was a modern day game.
So many cartoon style games that are good. I mean, if we go by the 4-player ones, we talked plenty about Turtles and The Simpsons. Excuse me, just adjusting my video. There we go. Yes, so those 4-player fighting games were fantastic. But I mean, on home console, we were talking earlier. There was Animaniacs I played recently,
brilliant!
And you could choose where you went on a little mini map, So you could do levels in whatever order you wanted, within reason. But you could also you controlled all three of the Animaniacs, and so you had it meant you had 3 lives within each level, and it actually controlled all right. It was a Super Nintendo. It was probably on Mega Drive as well. But yeah, I enjoyed that one. That wasn't too bad. And there has been plenty of terrible ones, terrible games.
Futurama on the GameCube, that was pretty dreadful.
Oh yeah, they were trying to emulate, I think, the Simpsons success, weren't they?
They did,
with the hit and run and whatnot, and I think it just turned into more of a sort of mini game shooting load of rubbish, really.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, one that I think we mentioned before we started recording that I really liked that got terrible reviews was the X-Files video game. I believe it came with 4 discs on the PlayStation 1 because it was an FMV game. Now, FMV games are very divisive, let's say, and they've always had terrible reviews, but I've always loved them.
I love them as well.
And just I suppose I've always loved story-based games, and that was it was an episode of a fantastic TV show that you controlled. But no, the negative things about it was that you had to literally click on a couple of pixels in the game, and those complaints were valid. But it was in that point. It was the late 90s, and you were able to control an episode of at that point one of the biggest shows in the world. It did, unfortunately. I remember it came out after the movie, so the story made absolutely no sense in the context of where the TV show and the movie was. But there was people who were still in it who weren't in it or had died or had, kind of thing. So it was, So it did get a bit lost.
Incidentally, they're bringing it back with the original actors.
Oh dear.
Yeah, they're actually filming another series of it, so time will tell on that one.
Yeah, thing is, I mean, it's another one of these shows though that it probably should have stopped maybe 4 series before it did.
Yeah,
I can't remember how many there was in the.
It was a lot.
Let's have a look. See if number of seasons 11. Yeah, there definitely shouldn't have been 11 seasons.
No.
They just.
And he still never found an alien, did he?
Well, he did a few times. He found really weird things, but there was normally something that meant they were threatened somebody that he loved, or threatened Scully or whatever, and he'd go, "All right, then I'll bury it," or somebody was dying somewhere else, so he had to save them instead of getting the evidence and all that kind of thing.
Scully always reminds me of that Lee Evans joke where the husband's in a party telling a joke, and he's talking about how big this thing was and how, and then the wife walks up and goes, "No, he didn't." And Scully's the same. He walks up and goes, "It wasn't an alien." Come on now.
Yeah, there'd be definitive, like there'd be an alien standing there with a sign going, "I'm an alien." And she'd still go, "Oh, no, it's probably it was the sun reflecting off something."
Yeah. One of my guilty pleasures from TV shows was 2 games, in fact, but one in particular was Wacky Races on the Dreamcast. I absolutely love that game. It's a cell-shaded game.
I think I remember it.
It's semi 3D, and it's just great fun. And you got all the original voices and characters and things.
Say Dreamcast?
On Dreamcast, yeah.
Hang on, did you just say original voices?
As in someone played the original voices. I'm not saying that it was the original actors.
I was going to say, wasn't Wacky Races from the 1960s, so I can imagine a lot of them probably did.
It was also re-released on the Wii U. Sorry, not the Wii U, the Wii. So, bless you. So, it came out on the Wii as well. I think it was almost a direct port from the from the Dreamcast, but less with the 3D.
Yes,
It
I'm
was
just
almost-
looking at images of it now. I think I remember it. I never played it, but yeah, that was very colourful.
Yeah. Reminds me of also Roadrunner on the Super Nintendo, which was a hilariously funny game. Obviously, you
As
got
in, because it's bad, or
no. It was beautifully drawn. It was very much of the style of the cartoon. Obviously, the wolf or fox, whatever you want to call it, got it
Coyote.
in the neck. Yeah, got it in the
His
neck
name's
many
literally
times.
Wile E. Coyote.
I couldn't remember. But throughout the game, he gets caught by things and hit, and he looks at the screen and, crosses over to the fourth
Holds up the little
dimension.
signs that say "ouch."
Yeah. The Roadrunner is very irritating because you get into a speed run and suddenly you run into a brick wall or a hill, and then it slows you down. But essentially, the game is the
video now,
cartoon.
and literally every 5 seconds, the person gets really high speed and then hits a wall. Gets really high speed and then hits a wall.
But great game, really funny. So
it had a cancelled sequel. No, yeah, I mean, for the age, I mean, it's 1992, so for that kind of age, having that speed of quite nice graphics actually.
Yeah. What
that's pretty good.
about Trapdoor? Who remembers Trapdoor from ITV children's television?
Bring me my food.
Where's my breakfast? Yeah.
Yes, don't you open that trapdoor because there's something down there.
Down there. Right. That'll be a YouTube flag. But yeah, they released a game for it.
Was that good? Don't worry.
They released a game for it on various platforms: Commodore, Amstrad, Spectrum. And it was
a claymation TV show, wasn't it? And I think if I remember rightly, the game had quite large characters on the screen.
And Robbie Coltrane played the voice of one of the characters. The actual blue character is Robbie Coltrane.
That was Willie Rushton, wasn't it?
No, I'm sure it was William.
No, it was Willie Rushton. R.I.P. Yeah, he's long dead now. I think he's probably been dead 20 plus years. I'm pretty sure. He touched like that, didn't he?
Yeah, I'm sure the first series of it was.
Maybe.
Yeah. I may be wrong.
I'm thinking that. Yeah, I'm sure it was really Rushton because he had that.
You are
sound.
Right. I stand corrected.
I mean, there might be other people. Nick Shipley. No, it was just the two of them.
It was just them. No, you're right. I was wrong. But
so Willie Rushton's guy, he was on like loads of TV shows as a sort of comedy writer, that kind of thing. And yeah, so hair like longish hair. Yeah, sometimes, and a beard. But yeah, anybody under the age of probably 35 wouldn't have even heard of him. He died. He died 27 years ago. Oh, 28 years ago now. 27 years ago. So
talking of funny characters and TV shows and stuff, I completely off gaming for a second. I was watching the Jim Davidson's Cinderella show.
Oh dear!
On YouTube, it was hilarious. They were all drunk during the performance, and there's this guy that's probably, I don't know, must have been in his 80s on there, and he shows up and he says to the fairy godmother, commenting about a policeman's on stage, and he says, "Turn him into a frog," and she goes, "I can't turn him into a frog." He says, "Turn him into a frog or a canoe." And then he walks off the stage going, "Canoe, canoe." Sounds good, that, doesn't it? And Jim Davidson goes, "He's pissed as a fart, he is."
All I remember is thinking, I remember I saw something he did recently. It most of his stuff has not aged well.
It hasn't. He's not funny anymore.
He is not. No, I think he's been lost to
lost.
He's been quite rightly lost to to the sin bin.
Yeah, definitely. But it was a chuckle. So
what else? Yeah, looking at other TV games. That's what I was going to say.
Postman Pat.
Wow. I'm going to go more modern, a little bit more modern, because this is PS2. Maybe I think it might be started on PS1 era. The CSI and Law and Order style games.
Great games.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, I love point and click games, and the fact that you had to do the sort of the murder mystery, and you had to find all the evidence, and then you could accuse somebody. And, they were quite linear, to be honest. They weren't exactly. There wasn't like you've got the more modern Agatha Christie games where you have to make the deductions yourself. But these ones were very much, you found 6 pieces of evidence. Now we'll tell you can talk to somebody. and now then you ask people a load of questions, and then they go, oh, well, I was in this place. And then you have an option of saying, no, you weren't. And so they weren't as open as you'd think, but they did immerse you quite well. And there were some good puzzles in there sometimes. But yeah, I quite enjoyed them. They were good for what they were. They're never going to be classic games. But the Law and Order ones were like Ace Attorney kind of thing. So they were okay. But again, a little bit linear, a little bit. But
there was a recent game actually that was a homebrew game, and it's an open board game. You ever heard of open board?
No, I have not.
Yeah. So open board is where, as I understand it, is where lots of different programmers come together to make games, and they've done these horror
like
games.
A game jam kind of thing.
Yeah, so they've done these ones where all the horror characters are in a beat 'em up, and you've got like Chucky versus Freddy Krueger and all stuff like that, which is really good. But they made a fighting game based on the original He-Man cartoon, and if you just type in Google He-Man open board game, it's absolutely fantastic. And sometimes Thundercats come in there and Transformers and things like that. But it's such a good game. Really fun. It takes from the original cartoon, and just really, really good.
Yeah,
great fun to play as well.
Just having a look at that. Oh yeah, I mean, it looks a bit like a very good quality Flash game, really.
yeah, essentially. But it was really good. I mean, he transforms from Adam, and as I said, Lion-O comes in there.
I was going to say, there's Lion-O. I'm just looking at a bit here. I'm thinking, hang on a minute, that's not He-Man. Oh, there's Skeletor. A little bit. Yeah, controlling Skeletor. He-Man,
the battle cat runs across the screen.
Power.
It's just a wonderful little game harping back to days of old, and you know me and retro, I love that kind of stuff. So
well, it's very much a sort of a Turtles kind of game, but by looks of it, single player
and better graphics.
Oh no, it does have a press start of four of them, so I think maybe 4-player. Yeah. Nice.
I haven't explored it enough for a while, but they.
I can imagine. Is that available for PC? Is it?
It's PC only. Yeah.
Yeah.
But worth a download. They also did a Dungeons and Dragons. Do you remember the cartoon Dungeons and Dragons?
Oh, I love that cartoon. Yes.
Yeah, it's great. They've done an open board game for Dungeons and Dragons as well.
So that's open, as in open board, BOR.
Yeah.
Is the ultimate 2D? Oh, it's a 2D side-scrolling engine for beat-em-up shooters and more. Okay. Oh, people have done all sorts. There's a City of Heroes one. There's some probably not so pleasant ones. Ones that people have obviously, trying to offend kind of things. So just be careful if you're exploring. So, hang on. and also you were going to say there was a game about Postman Pat.
Yes, there was a game about Postman Pat. That's all I have to say about that. Nothing
Yeah,
else.
I was going to say. I mean, is this something that you played recently? Yeah.
Build wealth
It's
by earning 5%.
Oh, hello. Was
wrong.
that an audio advert on a webpage?
Yes, completely. Yeah. That was a sponsorship video. But no, it was. I mean, it was a very basic Amstrad game. But what I love is the licenses from back in those days. Just how they could get away with it.
You could just get anything you wanted. I mean, it was everything. Every TV show was trying to merchandise themselves. And if a game sold well, it meant that they got money to make the TV show. And it told the people in the higher ups that look, this TV show might not have been watched by many people that you think about, but look, it sold 30,000 games, kind of thing. So it was just another merchandise. I think probably if one TV show I think that we've missed out on that probably is the biggest TV show video games, Star Trek. I think that Star Trek, there's been some terrible ones.
Mostly all.
I played one on I think it was PlayStation 1 or 2, and it was a 3D shooter, a 3D space shooter. And I can't remember what it was now, but it wasn't good. It wasn't very good. But then there's been point and click games. There's been first person shooters. I don't think there's probably been any that have jumped out as being 10 out of 10 games, but there's been some good ones.
The VR one was good. I quite enjoyed that. Star Trek Online was quite good. But,
yes, of course, that's still going strong as well. Yeah, of course, I've completely forgot about Star Trek Online. Free to play on most home consoles and PC. Just looking at Postman Pat as well, though. I think. Oh my god! I think I actually played this. Yes, you had to do deliveries in a certain amount of time.
Yeah, that's the one.
So it's an overhead.
It was pretty good.
Well, I mean, you could give it some high praise and say it was a prequel to the original Grand Theft Auto.
yeah. But they did a game, a Star Trek board game, which was, a simulation friendly. But
Star Trek. There's also the one recently, Telltale Games. One Star Trek Resurgence. I want to say.
Yeah.
Which I still haven't played because it's an Epic exclusive. So of course that meant I didn't even realise it had come out at first.
Right.
So I will be playing it at some point if it comes out on Steam. I could technically play it on my Steam Deck, but it's just so much easier to play.
So I'm just
via Steam.
Definitely. I'm just looking at the top 9, although there's only 8 listed, weirdly. Star Trek video games. So we've got Star Trek Away Team, which is essentially an RTS game. It's quite good actually. Might have to play that.
I think probably my favourite one was what's the one where it was when you're the captain. Oh, what's it called? Not Starfleet Command. The one where you're literally Bridge Commander from 2002, and it was it was like being you could pretend you were Picard or pretend you were Kirk if you wanted, or you could pretend you were your own person. It's just that came out at the same time as things like Elite Force 2 and Starfleet Command 3.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, you had Armada and things like that coming out the year
Elite
before.
Force
So,
was a good game. Definitely.
yeah. I mean, they were the first person shooters, weren't they?
They were. It was essentially Quake, wasn't it? With
with a Star Trek skin.
Yeah.
Wow,
Bridge Commander got #1 game. There you go.
Did it? Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
However, they do describe it as Bridge Commander is a mess. It's buggy. It's laggy. It's weirdly laid out. The character models look terrible, but still the best Star Trek game ever made. There you go.
Yeah. It was one that everybody sort of went, wow, I want to play that. That liked Star Trek, obviously. And yeah, it wasn't as good as people were hoping. I suppose it's a bit like your sort of No Man's Sky kind of thing. It promised a lot and it didn't deliver everything. So yeah, it was not as well received as it probably should have been, and it wasn't given the love that it should have been. But
We'll
yeah, I mean, Star
try.
Trek Online is if we go, it's 2024 now. Is 14 years old, and it's still going. Still going.
Yeah. Same with Star Wars Online and Lord of the Rings Online. They're both going through private servers. So, but if you want to try a most recent Star Trek game, then Bridge Crew on VR is fantastic.
Ooh, well, is that one where you're being somebody on the bridge?
You're the captain
control
of the ship, and it's all done on VR, and it's absolutely fantastic.
Ooh. Do you get to say engage?
Yes,
that's what.
If you so choose.
Sounds good to me. That sounds good to me. No, the most recent one, Star Trek Infinite.
Oh, what's that?
I think is this the one? I think is basically Stellaris with a Star Trek skin. Oh yeah. I'm just looking it up. Yeah, so Star Trek Infinite is basically Stellaris with with a Star Trek skin, but it didn't get very well reviewed. So I don't think we'll be getting any more of that.
I think do you remember the Next Generation game that Data would play, where he had like a visor on and he could maneuver this thing with his mind? It was some really weird 3D graphic thing. It was on Next Generation. Anyway, someone made a copy of it for Google Glass, and you could play the game on Google Glass. I could never get it to work. I mean, it would work, but in terms of controlling it, I was useless at it. But yeah, the fact that someone made it was just nice to know.
It was like the well, they used to have that chess game, didn't they, as well? That was like 3 different levels.
Yeah.
And
the spears, the one as well on Voyager.
Oh, blimey. Yeah. So yeah, lots of. I was so many Star Trek games. I'm looking here. If just on PC or computers started, there was a text game in 1971. Wow. But yeah, I mean, there's been everything on the Apple, the Atari. There was a 3D Star Trek on the Atari 8-bit. Oh, there you go. Yeah, Apple MS-DOS since 1985. Oh, you could play the Kobayashi alternative. That was the unwinnable situation that people did when they were going through when they learned to be in Starfleet, like the college. And there was the movie games as well, but most of them were all just random, nothing to do with any particular TV show. A lot of them.
Yeah. The Game Boy game looked very interesting. Rubbish, but yeah, even bothered to release it is beyond me. But there's a couple of ones where you're flying the Enterprise, and it looks very R-Type-esque game.
Well, I mean, we've been going for well over 50 minutes now. So, shall I go through some of on this day kind of things?
Go for it.
Do you know what? Today we're recording this on the 18th of January, and do you know what? There was pretty much nothing. What a boring time!
Well,
What
that's
a boring
January for
day.
you.
Yeah, so I'll just go back a couple of days, see if there's any Ape Escape 3, Blazing Souls. Yeah, you see. No, nothing really. Yeah. Wow, Yakuza Like a Dragon came out on PlayStation 4 years
that
ago
was a good one.
in Japan. Well, the sequel comes out a week yesterday, so next Wednesday. So if you listen to this on when it comes out in 2 days' time, 3 days' time, 3 days' time,
Something like that.
Something like that, yeah. It's next week sometime. And oh god, I so want that game, but yeah. It's one of these ones where I really want to play it. But I've just got this feeling that eventually it will come to Game Pass. I'm like, do I drop £60 worth of reward points and get it? Or do I wait for a couple of months? 27 years ago, what is the best PlayStation 1 snowboarding game?
Oh God, Cool Borders.
Yes, the one. 27 years ago that came out. Cool Borders. Blimey. I remember playing that and the sequel. The sequel's very good. Yeah,
I love that game.
Yeah, that's a really good game. DMC, the Devil May Cry reboot, came out 11 years ago. Wow,
well, that's gone quick.
And that wasn't even Devil May Cry 1. That was Devil May Cry. I think that came out after 3, maybe. I don't know, but yeah. So, just one more day. Let's have a look. Oh, well, there you go. 40 years ago from today in Japan, you could play tennis and Zelda 2, because I'm going to guess then, if Zelda 2 came out, The Adventure of Link, is these ones that are... No, that's nothing to do with the console, is it? So yeah, Tennis and Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, came out 40 and 37 years ago. Blimey.
Can you believe? And they're still popular to this day.
Yeah. So yeah, pretty boring time really for the old
game releases
on this day, gaming on this day. Although talking about Star Trek Shattered Universe came out 20 years ago on the 13th of January. There you go. There.
Well, one thing that's not boring is next week's show. So next week,
fingers crossed,
we are interviewing Bill Harbison, who is an ocean software legend, was involved in many different games over many different platforms, from Sega, Nintendo, and Spectrum.
And I think I can speak for him. I'm gonna guess his favourite device was Spectrum, not the Amstrad.
Yes, yeah. I might sneakily try and convince him to say different. But
so it's from the 80s and 90s. It's still in the gaming industry as well.
Yeah, so that's next week. And
hopefully,
some other interesting interviews coming up in the coming weeks. So should be fun. So plenty of interesting things to come.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I think we'll say the usual things of like and subscribe. And thank you, Tom.
Thanks,
and hopefully next week for our inaugural interview, Martin will be back, and we will see you next week.
Have a good gaming week.
See you later.
Goodbye.